Welcome to my channel, Unsettling Stories. Just like every day, I am here to share a new terrifying story sent by our subscribers. So, let's listen to the haunted forest horror story in their own words. But before we start, make sure to turn off your lights and close your doors. Let's start. I was so happy to find this subreddit a few weeks ago because I now have a space to share some of my creepiest experiences growing up in a haunted forest. I will be sharing 3 stories, 2 my own, and 1 is from my sister. All stories take place in the forest my parents' house is in. It has been known to be the site of satanic activity. Cats found dead hanging in trees. I personally have found a giant pentagram made out of rocks in the grass and a ritual site with rose petals and different stick formations. I have a picture of that later. Time for the stories. Story number 1. The first occurrence happened to me 6 years ago while I was on a hike with my ex-boyfriend. We were walking on a loop in the forest. The particular part of the trail we were walking in had very minimal tree coverage and was pretty open, a few small trees, but nothing big enough that a person could hide behind. As I was walking, I hear what sounds like a deep, guttural growl. The sound is coming from right behind my head, as if someone is growling in my ear. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I grew up in this forest, so I know we have a coyote population. I quickly whipped around Red to fight, and there was nothing there. I looked all around the surrounding forest, in the trees, etc., and there was literally nothing there. There was also no time for whatever made the noise to run to hide in the time I turned around, as the closest tree was around 10 feet away. My boyfriend asked me if I heard it too, and we cut our hike short and went home. Story number 2. Second occurrence also happened to me. 10 minutes from my parents' house is a giant pond that has a fallen over tree leaning against another tree, so you can climb up onto this dead tree and look at the pond. It was a classic smoke spot in high school, so my friend and I decided to make our way there one summer afternoon. We smoke, and almost immediately after we finished smoking, we both got a really bad feeling. At this point, we hear what sounds like a woman screaming. It sounds distant and we are immediately shaken up. We start looking around to see where it was coming from, when not one but 2 men's voices begin chanting. At this point, the woman's screams begin changing, almost as if she's yelling with the chants. At this point, we are literally running away. Things start to get really scary when the sounds completely stop. We both freeze, look at each other, and the low chanting and screaming start coming from a completely different direction and sound much closer. This continues to happen as we run away from the pond, chanting, screaming, silence, and the voices pick up from a different area of the forest. Similarly to the last story, when we looked around the forest we couldn't see anything. To leave the pond you needed to hike up a hill, and nothing was visible from the top. Story number 3. The final, and arguably scariest story happened to my sister. 5 minutes from my parents' house is a giant field overgrown with tall grasses. One night the sun was setting and she wanted to run to the field to take pictures. When she got to the path to get to the field, she noticed that it was overgrown with thorns. Not wanting to miss the sunset, she forced her way through the denser forest separating the trail from the field. She got to the field, took her pictures, and as she turned back and began pushing her way through the forest, she heard what she describes as the most fierce, low, demonic growling she has ever heard. It was not coming from one location, it was coming from all around her. Just like when I had my experience, my sister looked around her, all directions, and even into the trees to see if she could spot what was making the noise. There was nothing. She had an overwhelming feeling that if she ran, whatever it was would try to kill her. She decided to say out loud, "Please don't hurt me. I just want to go home," and slowly began taking small steps. This worked, and she took step after step, while the growling continued, until she made it back to the trail. Once she got to the trail she began sprinting home, and said that during her entire run she felt like something was right behind her, but when she looked behind her nothing was there. Once she made it to my parents' property line, she said the feeling of doom immediately left. So, these are my 3 stories. I would love to hear people's opinions on what they think could have been happening. The forest still creeps me out to this day, and I never go out near sundown alone. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share it with your friends. Help us on this journey and support us so I can bring more great stories for you. Until the next video, take care.